Now, more about Nikki Haley. All right. She is a union buster. This is important to recognize because Trump likes to go out there and say that he's fighting for the working person, even though he's not. And we can go on and on about the policies of the reason that he's not. You can actually look on our channel and find videos where we talked about Donald Trump and what he did that was anti-labor. But in this area, I want to talk about how Nikki Haley is way worse than Trump on labor. And it's not even close. All Republican candidates that were on the debate stage recently are very prominently against labor. They all came out against the United Auto Workers strike very hard. But no one has been as anti-labor as Nikki Haley throughout her life or in her current rhetoric. During her time as governor in South Carolina, she waged an open war on organized labor. And she even said explicitly that she would rather sacrifice job opportunities coming into the state than have union jobs enter the state. Because as she said it, she didn't want to poison the waters. And that's how she views organized labor and the labor movement and unions, that it's poison to the labor market. When she was elected in 2010 as the governor, she reached out to CEOs specifically saying, this is a quote, "We are going to make sure that you have a lot of loyal, willing workforce, and we are going to continue to be one of the lowest union participation states in the entire country." Well, she got her wish. South Carolina, as of 2022, has a union participation rate of around 1.7%. 1.7%.
Wow.
It also, not surprisingly, has one of the highest poverty rates in the United States. The South Carolina ranks 37th among 50 states when it comes to entry-level manufacturing pay. And we know that manufacturing is one of the most efficient places to be in a union. Manufacturing workers have some of the highest wage premiums when they join a union. And she has signed many pieces of legislation that are anti-union, one of which prohibited government agencies from requiring contractors to sign project labor agreements or pacts with unions. So totally stop anything that has to do with the government trying to push more unions into the state. Anything that was going to give rise to that union participation rate, she was going to squash. She even discouraged companies that have unions from wanting to come to South Carolina. One example of this was Boeing. Boeing was one company that wanted to do business in South Carolina, and she specifically fought against it because Boeing's workforce was unionized.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The AFL-CIO made a statement on this at the time, and they said South Carolina ranks near the bottom nationally on a wide range of measurements on health, quality of life, such as infant mortality, drug deaths, preventable hospitalizations, and Haley's strong opposition to workers' rights is a key component of many of the state's low rankings. And I couldn't agree more. We know when people are in a union, they make more money, they have a better sense of community, they have better job security. Better job security leads to better mental health, better pay leads to better childhood outcomes, which leads to generational wealth growth. All the things that unions fight for are in the interest of the working class. And so Haley's direct war against labor unions is a war on working people. End of story. And that's what her presidency would be.
Definitely. Oh my God. I can't, like the UAW movement, not to mention the actors and writers strike that happened in Hollywood and several other labor movements that we've talked about since Biden's administration has come in. Those would never happen under a Haley administration.
They would be squashed so fast.
Yeah.
There would be and all the great positive things that have been done with the National Labor Relations Board under Biden would be gone in a second under a Nikki Haley administration.
Yeah.
I also believe they would be gone in a second under a Trump administration, but he's just not dumb enough to say it out loud. The same way he didn't say it out loud in 2015 and 16 when he was running for president, but then appointed some of the worst labor representatives on the NLRB that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Because the truth at the end of the day, he's just taking whatever the Republican Party gives him.
Yes.
So
it's so hard to make the anti-union argument in my mind, because the one thing that I think about is like, okay, maybe it's harmful to startups, right? It's harmful to small companies that can't afford to pay workers that much, but unions don't exist at small companies and startups. The whole point is it's so that they can siphon more of the profits that are going to the board members and the shareholders of these enormous like automobile companies, right? So it doesn't it's just so clearly the right thing to do for working people. And it's ridiculous that someone like Haley would try to keep them out of their state.
We've done a whole deep dive about the benefits of unions. You can find that video on our channel. It's one of our longest ones and one of our best. We did a history of the UAW where we actually talked about their positives and their negatives. They had corruption scandals, but they've reformed, you know, and unions are more open and more democratic than they've ever been.
Don't get me wrong. Unions can be bad, just like any kind of organization.
Anything can be bad.
Right? But within the system that we're talking about of capitalism, unions are a good force for the people who need it most.
It's really a necessary force.
Yeah.